Alright guys, good evening. It's Roden again, and welcome to EP63 Trading episode 63. Man. Don't drop cards. Alright, good stuff today guys, good stuff. The usual stuff, going over the calls from last week. And as far as our main topic today, we're not going to go over UALX or any other cross-market stuff. Because for the most part, it's not really... For the format that we do the show in, I don't think it's that productive, in all honesty. I gotta figure out a way to better show that to you guys, to be honest. I just don't think our particular format works for that, so we'll see. We'll have to figure something out. But instead, our main topic today is going to be... I was motivated to actually discuss this with you guys, to share this with you guys, because we have one guy in our market discords, multiple market discords actually. You know who you are. Not gonna say your name since you told me not to say your name. But he was actually basically getting into this position to start doing proper market play in nullsec. He's intending to do this in Delve. All right. So for all you Delve people out there, you know, maybe you can chime in and actually see if the points that I discussed with them were good, were bad, or you know, if you have any opinion whatsoever. Okay. So we're going to get that as soon as we're done with our items and do some quick market updates, okay, outside of that. Now Jimmy's like waiting for an alliance broker dragon short sell on. Oh, short sell? If we legit had stuff like that, man, that'd be something. That'd be something. Alright, so we'll go ahead and get started on our calls from last week. Last week we called neodymium as a buy. Neodymium as a buy, still a buy. It definitely, man, let's go back 7 days. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. It's still really on the same tight trade channel. It has to. Well, it can either. I'm not sure if it's gonna pick up right now, but it definitely has established that floor of 71K. So still a buy. All right, thanks, Helex. So still neodymium, still a buy. Would I actually buy into this right now? I don't know. Let's see if it's actually tradable or flippable rather. 73 to 77. I don't know. $5%? Nah, not right now. Not right now. If you were to buy this with the hopes of cashing out at near 87s, like 85 or something, that's probably doable. That's probably doable. I'll that someone has really screwed my favorite pirate Franks. Whatever it is, you better stop or else. Bro, it's been good for the past few months though. I don't think it's really messing with it. It's more of the price action is finally petered out. I'm surprised it held on for as long as it did though. It was literally months, several months worth of upward action, right? Alright, so it's also called neodymium. Next one's platinum for buys. Daredevils went from 50 to 70. 75, really? Yeah. Oh, the sucky was 40 to 60. Holy crap, it's still going up. It's still a buy. I've been seeing this. You know what? It's kind of funny that we're actually seeing these raws displaying like this right now. Because the raws we're about to call out are actually a heck of a lot more cyclical. A heck of a lot more cyclical. So platinum, same thing. It's just reinforcing the bottom. I'm actually okay with that. Because then that reinforces that it's a good buy. It's a good buy call. It's just that you would not have probably profited profited out of buying it and selling it for the past 7 days? Probably not. Well, let's see, 25K to bottom end of 22. It's not much. Actually, no, take that back, 13%. But that's the top end of the Danshin though, so you would have had to babysit those orders. Nat3S says, if I want to invest 10 billion, what items would you recommend I buy? It's a loaded question. It's questions like that we're going to be going over today. But as of right now, for a quick answer, just shotgun answer, 10 bill, put it on RMT items. Like no joke, put it on RMT items, and just play it off of the sales and use that as your calendar basically. That's because you don't even have to think about it. Just play it around the sales, play it around the Plex sales, play it around the extractor sales. That's it. Yeah, RMT items, Plexes, skill injectors, skill extractors, multiple character training certificates, RMT items. Those are definitely like, yeah, it's just outside of that you're gonna have to actually kind of work. I mean, you know, you're gonna have to work, but CCP was kind enough to actually create a buy and sell calendar for you via the sales. Yep, real money. Yep. Aeroflux, sorry about that. Yep. RMT is real money trading. That's correct. All right, Platinum. Good buy call. Reinforced it basically. Cool says, according to Chironica, the SP Farmer tool on Mogul is incredibly popular. It blew his mind. Was he not aware of how big SP farming is, or just the fact that people were using his tool? Or is it both? Because SP farming is definitely still a thing. I'm kind of surprised, to be honest, but I mean, because you have to keep fighting to scale up, right? And that's kind of the challenge. That's the main barrier, though, right? The ability to continuously scale up. Because as a bit of both, he's working on a contract finder tool now. Oh my god, a contract finder. All public, I imagine. All public, right? I mean, I'm be interested. I'm actually super interested about a contract finder. Super interested. All right, good. I said good call, Platinum. Reinforces the buy call that we had. Next one's armor plates. Same thing. It reinforces the buy. Wow. So in the 7-day period, it just continuously stayed on the buy zone. But it didn't really give enough time for the 20-day moving average to actually start trending downwards significantly. It could potentially have been playable the entire week. Let's actually look at that. So bottom end of 37.5K. And let's say, I don't know, 43, 44, 37 to 44. 18%, yeah, doable. I'm not sure how often, well, let's see where it is right now. 37, 39, yeah. It might have been doable to actually play this entire week, but as far as the getting action on sell end of salvage materials, common salvage materials, I imagine it's there. And it's probably less competitive, right? It's probably less competitive. Meristic says, what does the downward spike mean? This part right here? That's basically Danshin channel bullshit. You see that a lot on the last day. If it's ever going to show itself. As far as the way things are graphically depicted, it just gets all wonky. So I'm having a hard time believing that someone bought. There was an exchange of armor plates at near zero in Jita. I mean, there could have been. It's unlikely. I don't think so. It's either a fat finger or the window just doesn't display it properly. Cool says, did you see the Eve Lost Item Report website? Amazing tool showing most popular ships item in Fashion Warfare regions. Oh, okay, cool. I'll put that in, man. All right, there is the link. What is this exactly? Oh, look at that! That is cool. That is cool. This is Fashion Warfare specific only, huh? That's neat. That's super neat. You could totally use it as a guide for your market stuff in low sex. I imagine. Doing it in a proper trade hub, I don't. It may not be as fruitful if it's Fashion Warfare specific. You know what I mean? Because of the low volume of item turnover in Fashion Warfare space, those small market hubs tend to be okay to actually cover the demand, right? I would think. At least it was like that when I was still actively trading in LoSec. Pizzeria is actually good for that kind of stuff. Heck is good for that stuff. Alright guys, so those are all our buy calls. I'm going to go ahead and go to our sell calls from last week. I'm going to start with the Cobalt. Still a sell. It's hanging in there too, man. It's touching the 90-day high, so that's actually really good. So at least in the last 4 days or so, it became as profitable as our first call. So that's good. Good call on sells on Cobalt. And the volume's kind of unaffected. That's kind of crazy. So these are mostly sells. Well, these are mostly sell actions. That's kind of cool. I like Cobalt though, but it's not as drastic, right? It's quite a steady gains. Right, next one's broken drone transceiver. As per the Dodge, it's still a sell. It's still hitting above 50k. Is it hitting above 50k now? Shy of it, 47. Okay. Yeah, I'm not. It's not much to add on this one. Although it's been dropping volume in the last few days, but it's still maintaining above the 50-day moving average, or sorry, the 20-day moving average. So yeah, that's good. If you have it and you don't wanna, and you have no intention of using it for your production line, go ahead and sell it. Sell it while it's still hot. And last item to review will be the Orthrus. I was kind of surprised to even have made this call last week. It was a sell. That's definitely crossed over. Alright, let's go back 7 days. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Or as far as mean averages go, when we called it 7 days ago, would have been the best time potentially to have sold an Orthrus. It's been trending downwards ever since. So yeah, makes sense. I mean, at a per item level, you know, when you're trying to sell something that sits at above 200 million and there's a very clear sell signal for it, yeah, why not take advantage of it? If you just happen to have it anyway, why not? It seems to be quite playable the whole time. Well, let's see if it's playable right now though. 222 to 204. 8%. That's not bad. That's not bad. Who says it seems like the margin is pretty slim considering taxes. It tends to be like that though, Cool. What I've noticed with the pirate faction items, it's I am for a flippable item within a 7-day period. It's probably not best. A better idea might have been to actually swing trade off of the pirate faction items. I swung trade a lot for Macarials. I swung trade a lot for Nightmares, and it's good, man. As long as you know, as long as you're comfortable putting your money where your mouth is as far as predicting where it's gonna sit on the buy it and the sell end, I think you'll be okay. Top Jamie says swing trade. Yes, it's basically the whole premise of buying high and selling. Buying low and selling high. We kind of use this example. So, just for the purpose of just demonstrating it with this specific chart, every time there is a buy signal, so we've established that as when the blue line is below the orange line. All right, just keep it nice and simple. I would buy then. And if I'm it also helps if the item has a cyclic manner. It goes up and down in waves. All right. It's not quite like that for the Orthodox, but some items do behave like that, where it's cyclic, and you can just basically just keep buying when the blue line goes under the orange line, and you keep selling when the blue line is above the orange line, and that's it. Waiting for the market to swing your way to fill your orders. Yep, basically that's it. So for me, I did that a lot for meta items. I would literally place very forward-thinking buy orders, like well below of the current buy orders, but I am anticipating to eventually hit that part. And I would just do the reverse for sells. That's it. Chisumi says, seeing some of these items might make me train to hunt relic sites again. Yeah, why not? Why not? Especially if a lot of people are engaged in conflicts right now, maybe there's a lot of sites that are just left undone. You never know. Alright, so those are all our reviews. We're running into that same problem again where 7 days isn't enough. At the very least, it was kind of cool that at least for 2 items, the buy call was good. But in the 7 days, you couldn't really have done much with it. So all it did is basically establish that the buy call was good. I'll take that. So, and we've been seeing this for the past few episodes now as well. Items just aren't moving in and out with the same frequency that we're used to seeing in JITA even. So that tells me that a lot of the stuff is continuing to become null centric, which is, I think that's good. I think that's really, really awesome that the markets are becoming null centric. Now it does make it much more difficult to view using just being in game. All right, you may have to use tools to actually have a better vision, but I'm not sure if that's actually good or bad, man, to be honest with you. If you lose vision of the game just by just looking at it, just being in game and looking at the windows and participating, if you're better off actually creating tools and gathering the data on the back end, is that okay? Is that even fair in a universal sense? Because not everyone may have access to such tools or the ability to actually produce them themselves, right? Cool says it makes it way harder for mega traders to control markets, more room for little fish. True. Yeah, no, I get that. Taking a trader like myself, though, I would say, because I don't really look at the markets in just a regional sense, and I actually gain more of my information just by talking to people, as not so much physically looking at the JITA window these days. It makes it a lot more difficult to make calls, and it forces you to actually consider playing your local nullsec market as opposed to playing JITA, especially if you're small time. You'll probably get more bang for your buck by playing nullsec as opposed to playing JITA. It also really makes inter-regional trading shine if the markets move independently. Yeah, I think we're really getting there. I think it's a good time to be a trader, man. But at the same time, the old traders like me that don't use tools and just look at the game, kind of like the casuals, I guess, would probably have a hard time identifying where the markets are going. But to have a great advantage if you know how to manipulate ESI and know how to make tools for yourself, is that okay? Is that okay that you need assets outside of game in order to be successful in the game? Is that okay? Probably not. Probably not. Probably not. So I don't know, man. I mean, that kind of vision outside of being in game, that's always kind of bothered me, to be honest. Cool says the downside is that a lot of the markets are hidden behind private structures. They sure are. I don't know. I think that's a really good subject to adventure to kind of go into every now and again. But as of right now, I would say that the ability to not have a universal view, if you don't know how to make tools, is probably bad. As long as the ability to actually see the missing universal picture is available to those who know how to make the tool. You know what I mean? Because it's not a fair battlefield. Because when it comes to markets and information is everything. Some people can see it, some people don't. I don't know, man. I definitely want to hear you guys' input on that one, or those who have the knowledge of actually of making tools and things like that. Because I'm just kind of just talking, out of my view of it, and it doesn't seem fair at this point, as far as the vision goes, at least. All right. So with that being said, we'll carry on with some market updates. Hopefully, sometime this week, or even today, tomorrow, somewhere around there, we will receive our 50 billion ISK investment from some supporters. So that's going to go to my corp. And the way that's going to work is the payout will be 5% of that pot of money every month for 6 months. And what we do with that money, we'll see, man. Right now, there's a lot of things that we could do. There's definitely some opportunities within Alliance, within Coalition that we could exploit. With that 50 billion ISK, it's just being super smart with it. Like I know Akuli said last week, man, 50 billion ISK really isn't a whole lot. That's so true. But at the same time, considering our size and how much money we can move at a time, 50 billion ISK is a lot of money. If anything else, we can probably do some sort of new projects with that, assuming we are okay with our buybacks, which I think we're kind of stabilizing with our buyback need for that particular pot of money. So we'll see how that goes. But at the very least, I'm definitely interested in exploiting other areas of the market, other areas of space, in order to make that 50 billion ISK worth more for our investors. So we'll see. But the actual presentations of those, hopefully I'll be able to actually highlight some of the projects that we do use the money for. And I'm pretty confident we can keep up with the promissory note of 5% every month. So Blaze says Pocahontas has the best buyback in Delta, 97% G to buy. That's pretty good, 97%. Damn. That's tight, man. Dang, 97%. 3% enough to cover the hauling costs. Well, it has to be under. It has to be under. I don't think can you? Yeah, if you can link it. Go ahead, please. That's pretty impressive, man. 97%. Holy crap. I'm really curious how to see the model, because depending on how much he's hauling, I guess. All right, good. You can put it in there. Awesome. I have looked at implants, Aquila. We got a few implant calls this week. I haven't been looking at them nearly as closely as I used to. That's for sure. That's for sure. Just haven't been done. I've just been hoarding my LP, so I haven't cashed out yet. If I'm ever gonna cash out, I'm gonna definitely do a blind cash out implants. That's kind of easy money. Like for lazy people, super easy money. All right, so the next, what's this? Blaze says good loot at 97% G to buy, Moon Goo at 95, G to buy compressed ore at 90, G to buy crap loot at middle rate. I like that, crap loot at middle rate. It's very good that you're distinguishing the differences. Alright, so shout out to Blaze's boys right there. Good to go. For Mr. Picana there for his buyback model. Good to go. Alright, so the next thing I'm going to go, guys, is actually kind of like the meat of what I wanted to discuss with you guys. And we definitely have some good interactions already, so hopefully we can get more concerning this subject. So, oh, Incumine, thank you very much for subscribing with Twitch Prime. Appreciate it. So I want to share my interaction with you guys with a young player that I was interacting with. He's not that young in the game. He's been around for a little bit. So this is kind of what we talked about. I want to share my interactions with the young player who wanted to participate in the available market play in Delve. Okay. Now I'm going to caveat this. I don't have any characters in Delve. I know a lot of Delve people, but I don't live or play there. Alright. But we had the discussion anyway. Alright. So the discussions revolved around what are the things to consider if you want to play the market with the intent of making, I don't know, for the sake of this conversation, let's say this person wanted to make 200 ISK per day on some on playing the market. Okay, that's what started off this conversation. So the first question I kind of then shot back to this guy would be, okay, so you want to make, let's say, 200 million ISK a day doing markets. What's the priority? Is it the 200 million ISK per day, or is it playing the market? Because you don't necessarily need to do one or the, you don't necessarily need to do markets to make 200 million ISK a day if the main goal is just making the money, right? And the reason I started off with this is a lot of people that want to get into the markets kind of have, Cool says laser focusing crystals fell off a cliff. Yeah, it did. So the reason I led off with this question is a lot of people that engage me in, hey, I want to learn how to do markets because I want to make X amount of ISK per day. And I almost always shoot back with, well, why don't you just rat or mine your way to making that ISK if all you're really after is just the ISK per day, not necessarily the act of playing the market. Usually, a lot of times, that kills off like 80% of the conversation when I have that with people. Like they'll just stop talking to me after that. And they're like, well, what the fuck? I thought this guy actually wanted me to do market stuff. Like, no, I didn't want you to do market stuff. You let me know what you want to do. I'm just presenting the information, right? But having this assumption that markets will continuously give me X amount of money per day consistently, I don't think that's very true unless you have a very good system. Especially for beginners, that's really, really hard to it's a really hard place to kind of arrive at, making 200 million ISK per day. But let's entertain that question anyway. I want to make 200 million ISK per day playing the market in Delve. What can I do to get there? Well, before we can even answer that question, we kind of have to go over, well, how much money are you playing with? Because to say you're making 200 million ISK a day kind of means that you have a heck of a lot more than that as a bankroll, right? Cool says markets will give steady returns, but we always get burned out after a while. Yeah, I mean, it took me a long time to get burned out. I mean, I lasted a bit of almost a year, but most people don't last that long. I don't think so. So when we kind of got, and that's a really good point, Top Jimmy. Top Jimmy says 200 million ISK, 1 hour, 2 works. And I was kind of shooting that kind of material at him. I was like, well, why don't you just be an IRAD for a few hours? Can you operate works? Can you carry your rat? Can you do this, do that, do this, do that? I'm not trying to dissuade him from playing the market. It's just that his goal was a money goal. Just because you have a money goal doesn't always mean that the answer is playing the market. You know what I mean? Cool says TLDR opportunity cost. Yep. Eventually, the conversation definitely veered towards opportunity cost, but we'll eventually get to that. But okay, so we entertained the question. So 200 million is per day. What kind of marketplace can he do in Delve to get him there? The usual stuff, right? So it can be importing, it can be local production. So he was kind of just shooting all these plans at me. Magic SC says, CCP says we can make 300 million a tick. What? Get out of here. Madness. Madness. So, like I said, I mean, like with how I caveated this conversation, I don't live in Delta. I don't have any tunes there. Let's go over importing for a moment. How much money would you have to have for importing as an importing operation to make 200 million ISK a day? A lot, right? Like 200 million ISK net profit a day, dude. That's a lot. That's a lot of materials to be pushing through on imports. Exactly, cool though. Like Fashion Warfare, people have no idea how much money you can make on Fashion Warfare. No idea. That's why it's so good. That's why it's so good. But and so he shot me an import plan. All right, okay. So what are you gonna import? Blaze says importing is like what 30% profit. 30%, that's super generous. You can get away with 30% profit in Delve. That's actually kind of surprising. That tells me there's hardly any competition if that's the case. 30%, yeah. I mean, I guess the one thing you guys have going for you is you guys have a whole lot of consumers, right? In other places. Cool says importing has a lot of moving parts. A lot depends on other people. Yep. It's actually I'm super fascinated at the numbers you guys are throwing out because I'm kind of mind blown a little bit. 10% is a little bit more my pace. 10% is a little bit more my pace. So as far as the import plan, so we'll kind of go over this stuff. Okay, so import plan. Okay, well, and I mentioned, well, you can't really be importing the same stuff that everybody else is, right? Because everyone else is already doing that. So you have to import something different. And he actually came up with a pretty decent answer, you know, importing uniques like factions, things like that. I'm not sure how viable importing faction stuff is, guys, but if you guys can provide any insight on in the viability of importing faction items, because I don't think that's super viable in the very, very long run. But that's just me though. That's just based on my experience. Okay. But at the same time, I think what the guy did say too is like he mentioned some like capital faction stuff. I'm like, bro, you might sell like a handful of those, but consistently though, I don't know. It's a bit strange to me. Maybe it's because I actually don't live there, and to me it's strange, but to you guys that's quite normal. Yeah. Top Jimmy says I run a halving service personally. If you want halving service, love it. Google says if I lived in Goon Space, I would look into buying pirate ship PCs and selling them in high stack. You know what? That's the one thing I definitely didn't discuss with the guy is actually doing it the other way. Right? We were so focused on getting stuff into Delve, we actually didn't think about getting stuff out of Delve. If you look at Jeter right now with how things are actually quite stagnant, getting stuff out of Delve may not be a bad idea. Alright, so I kind of feel bad for the guy, right? Because I shat on a lot of his plans. I really shat on a lot of his plans. The next thing that we went over is local production plan, okay? I can only assume that there are already a lot of producers in Delve. Because there's a lot of people there, right? And minerals just flow free and don't even make it to high sec anymore. So I imagine there's a lot of very productive builders in Delve. And one of the things that I definitely pushed to him on that one is, well, actually on both items. The main thing that I was pushing on him as far as import plans and a local production plan is you have to consider your competition, the cost, the actual build costs, things like that, actual service costs like hauling, and opportunity costs, and realistic profitability. Okay. For the most part, I think he was fairly dissuaded on doing both. But, and I was kind of getting into why I was kind of doing this. I'm not trying to shit on your plan just to shit on your plan, but I'm basically giving you the stuff that allowed me to figure out what the correct answer is for the specific scenario without having to do it, without having to fail. Right? I was basically giving him, hey, when I was your age in the game, I failed because I didn't look into items A, B, and C. All right. So throughout these discussions, I was kind of just letting him know, hey, this is one part I did look into when I was trying to do what you're doing. This is one part, that kind of resulted in me getting losses. Okay. So the main thing that was, the whole time that we were having this conversation, I actually wasn't talking about money at all, right? I wasn't talking about ISK per day outside of his initial 200 mil per day. I wasn't talking about cost of services, like shouting out actual like ISK values, okay? But the main thing I kind of wanted to communicate to him was like super basic stuff, like the actual idea of economics. Okay. Economics, as far as it's not immediately about money, all right? Obviously, it's about money eventually. Any talk about economics will eventually lead into money, all right? But the one thing I wanted to let him know is think of the super basic aspects of economics, all right? Disregard the money for a moment. It's about people, choices, and scarcity. If you can get a hold of those three concepts in terms of economy, you could probably come up with an idea that'll make you profitable as far as employing that in marketplace. Okay. Hey, you got that much stuff? I gotta take a look at this now. Whoa! That's a lot of Balgorns. That's legit. All right, so that's basically what we went over. So I don't know. I mean, you guys tell me how hard is it to actually? Was I right in going over all that stuff with him? Did I miss some stuff? Is it a little bit too broad of a discussion? In the end, I think he's still gonna do it. I think he's gonna continue with an import plan as opposed to a local production plan. I think in Delve, at least the importing has a lot more wiggle room versus local production, assuming that he can be successful in actually importing uniques. So we'll see how that goes. Like I've done importing of faction, but more of faction items that would relate to ratting, like VNIs, Stratios, Asteros, things like that. Actual ships. That's usually what have more of an experience in importing. But outside of the actual faction items, though, I haven't been that successful, to be honest. It could be just the population that I serve too. It's a much smaller population. Import any kind of marketplace in Delve, I imagine, is actually it's a different beast. Because it's almost like you're doing it in high sec with the sheer population that you're working with, right? So yeah, let me know what you guys. Cool says no plan survives first contact with the local market. Yeah, man. I know in the beginning, I know that he was getting frustrated too, as far as like I kept shitting on his plans, but I wish someone did that for me when I was first starting out, because then I wouldn't have to go through the pains of. Vendetta says, "This live? Yeah, it's live, bro. This is totally live, real life." So we'll see. He's going to continue with his market exploits. I think he's going to be successful. I think it was Tuesdays when I used to do it, Vendetta, but now I'm in Spain now, and I have to do it Thursdays because of availability. Those growing pains are very, very valuable lessons, totally, man. And definitely the part of that whole conversation that's allowed me to progress through my own marketplace ventures is thinking of economics in that way, about people, choices, and scarcity. When I do my market play, I don't play too much with numbers. It sounds really odd, but I actually don't play too much with numbers. I play more with the motivations of people, and I play more with influencing people as opposed to influencing. I'd rather influence people that can influence the market versus playing the market directly myself. At least in my current stage of market play, that seems to be very effective versus just one isking all day. Oh, Nella, sorry, man. Bro, if you gotta go to sleep, man. Who says I think if he starts small, he can spin upwards very quickly. Yeah, I told that too. The scaling. But at the same time, one thing that I kept harping on as well, and this is something that's very universal. I would offer this advice to anyone that actually comes up to me and asks. If you want to do lazy, especially in the beginning, don't do markets. If you want to do lazy, don't do markets. Because the people who do markets in a lazy way have a ton of capital. Unless you're playing at that level, you're gonna be working. You're probably gonna be working harder than a ratter. You're probably gonna be working harder than a miner. And you're probably not gonna be making that much money in the beginning until you figure out what's what. It's just that a lot of this stuff you just can't. You can't just read a blog and know it all. You can't just read Eve Wiki and know it all. You have to go through the pains, like Akula said. You're gonna have to fail a few times to figure this out. It's not a linear thing. Cool says Goons are on expansion phase 2. Might be worth looking at her fire sales in Conquered Space. I kind of touched upon that with him too. I'm not sure if it's very, very small though, but being an opportunist, rendering services, things like that. Oh, thank you very much, Vendetta. Appreciate watching the videos. Appreciate it. Ned Ebby says, what do you do with the profits you gain? PvP? The profits that I gain, a lot of the market activities that I do these days has been like social, like social based, like asking people for funding and stuff like that. The money that I do get, for example, hopefully within the weekend, we'll be getting, my corporation at least will be getting a 50 billion ISK that I secured for investment. So it goes to my peoples. My money, my profits goes to my peoples because they're good peoples, and they deserve it, man, because they run a really tight operation. I'm actually quite impressed with the operation that they do, especially how my leadership has taken on such roles and herded all of our cats, basically. It's quite impressive, to be honest. And I just stepped back and was like, hey, I got 50 bill for you guys, because y'all the best. Ogula says ISK is a tool for him. It's not. Yeah, I'm definitely not a hoarder, and I definitely see ISK as a tool. Absolutely, Okulo. I don't see ISK as, I can buy things with this now. I don't see ISK as a I can use it to buy stuff. I see ISK as what kind of fun things can I do with this in terms of influencing people, influencing change potentially, especially in smaller organizations. That EP says, what do your peoples do? So I'm part of Startide Industries. That's the corporation name. We are in Drone Walkers Alliance. We live in legacy space. And we do pretend to be good at PvP. That is actually very true. We pretend well enough, all right? But for the most part, we're kind of the whole living in null on your own and making do with what's available, resource-wise, manpower-wise. We're definitely doing that. It's really cool civilization building in our own small scale, and that's something I really, really appreciate. That's basically what we do. We're building a civilization, and it's awesome. And AP says, can you influence Kaldari military faction warfare low-side people to actually fight back? No, you cannot. Having been in faction warfare as long as I have, the few times that I was in Kaldari, in Kalmil side, I'll be honest, man, I was really just there for militia chat. They have the best militia chat out of all the factions. They have the most entertaining militia chat and the most toxic simultaneously. and I do miss being in that chat. I do miss it. But outside of that, they're pretty garbage, man. Sorry, but they're pretty garbage. They just have not enough fighters and way too many farmers. Like a lot of farmers. But at the same time, the farmers would just go dormant though. At times that they have to go dormant, they'll just not play, or they'll just do something else, or they'll help Amar side instead. And then it says, yeah, this guy Diana came with his alt sons going to guys nonstop in prison. If it's the same Diana came, I think I was in the same corporation. I think he was in my corp for a while. If it's the same person, it may or may not be something similar. Very much an outlier. I would love to actually discuss Faction Warfare mechanics and that part of the market as well, Kulo, but until the mechanics get addressed in the context of Citadel's online right now, it's not going to get fixed. Putting anything on top of that is probably going to break it even more. You have to address the existence of Citadels in LowSec in the context of Faction Warfare mechanics. If you don't do that, you're just wasting time. It's just bullshit. It's just bullshit. So yeah, I mean, I'd love to be able to actually have a actual conversation with someone about that. I'm not sure if that's worthwhile of our time in a show like ours, to be honest. But yeah, man, I don't think Faction Warfare is going to be addressed anytime soon. It's too big of a problem. It's too big of a problem. Which is a shame because there's so much juicy lore behind that, man. There's so much like juicy solo stuff behind that. But what do you do? What do you do, right? All right, but going back to how to get started in nullsec as far as our discussions with this person. I mean, it's kind of a very simple thing, right? At the end of the day, you gotta do your work, right? Magic SC says injectors are under 700 million, which is crazy considering 2 months ago they were 814. No, that's not crazy. That's not crazy. Let's take a look at. Hold that thought. We'll go over that as soon as we do a quick recap on this subject. Okay. So going back to the things you need to get started in nullsec. Having a plan, right? So this guy had a plan. This guy had different avenues to actually make his money, importing local production, right? Being aware of the actual environment that you want to operate in. So being aware of your competition, all right? Be aware of costs, not just the actual ISK cost, but also opportunity cost. Are there other things that you could be doing outside of that activity that can get you the same effect, okay? And being realistic with your levels of profitability. Just because you want to make 200 million ISK a day, well, you better have at least a few billion to make that 200 million ISK appear, right? You gotta invest something. You gotta invest something. And but he did one good thing though. If there's anything at all that he did correct right from the get-go, he actually bothered to ask someone. He actually bothered to ask someone. Oh, thank you for following, Rylan Ray. Appreciate it. I think a lot of people these days don't bother to communicate with fellow players, even if they're trying to get information. They're just as happy to just Google something and go to the wikis and stuff like that. That's kind of cool, and it kind of makes sense for other activities, but for the markets, I don't think that's appropriate. I really don't think that's appropriate because then EVE markets are too alive to just go to some sort of web source and give you a linear answer. Because if we were having that conversation with other more learned market people, I would probably get schooled myself. You know, I would probably get put in my place like, hey, actually that's wrong. And yeah, of course, I definitely think that some of that stuff. I may not have all the answers, but I was only giving answers based on my own personal experience. All right, but don't forget to ask people. Okay, have a plan, and be realistic of what you can actually execute on. Because marketplace is a lot of work. A lot of people kind of have this idea that marketplace is passive. It can be, but it takes a while to get to that point. In the beginning, it's a lot of work, and it causes a lot of people to burn out. Probably more so than regular PvEing. Net Epu says, not quite the same, but I was teaching a new bro how to faction warfare and told him to ask people he dies to what he did wrong. I do this exact same thing. I tell people that all the time. And DM players that are good at a specific ship they fly, what they do, use, etc. I do the exact same thing, Net Epu. I really, really do. A lot of people don't take me up on it. And that's how I learned soloing. I actually private convo the people that killed me and ask them what I did wrong. Cool says, when you talk with people like Entity, who's worth 30 trillion, you tend to shut up and listen. Heck yeah. Heck yeah. Heck yeah. 30 trillion. Ooh, it's gross. That's a fake number, Hulo. That's a fake number. Alright, but hopefully I was able to actually help this young man. And who knows, man? Maybe he'll be the one giving the lessons in the near future. So for those of you guys who are, I don't think any of you guys are actually, not too many of you guys at least, are probably wanting to start up. I imagine the majority of our audience is actually kind of veteran market people. But for you guys who are starting up, don't forget to ask people. All right, don't be shy about asking. Don't be shy about talking to people about your goals. But at the same time, be realistic. And be prepared for your goals or for your dreams to probably get shattered in like 2 lines of conversation. It's gonna happen. Just take it in stride, though. Just take it in stride and learn from it. Okay. And FU says, I clicked on the stream because the graph looked cool. The thumbnail. Got him, coach. Got him. All right, so unless there's any other things you guys want to add to how to get started in nullsec, very generic, right? Super, super generic. But there are some points in there that do get forgotten. Okay. Hopefully we can. That's like kind of a cool segment, like a newbie segment. That'd be kind of cool. Vendetta says, or join faction warfare level 4 missions. Yeah, that's true. Cool says tools. Are tools good for beginners to use though, Kulo, or is that something that should be reserved for at least medium knowledge types? Because I myself don't use them. I've never used them. Never, ever. Outside of, well, it's a little different because I actually know how to read charts, like for real life. So in a way, I don't know. I'm not sure where you would kind of categorize that. I don't think learning tools from the get-go is good, to be honest, because then you miss the vision. You're gonna miss the vision as you progress, I think. Cool says, I think if they start using tools early, it helps really focus. Yeah, I can see the focus. I guess it's just we have a difference in approaching it. I like to see something from super far away and then narrow it down. But as I'm narrowing it down, I'm understanding it in my own way so that I can scale my understanding eventually if I get exposed to different aspects of the activity. You know, I don't know. We'll see. There's not a whole lot of tutorials or markets out there. I mean, outside of the mechanics of it, it's not a whole lot because it's really difficult to teach it. Who says you can naturally quantify whether you are making money or not? That's the biggest trap for new guys. They can't quantify their margins. You know what? Yeah, that's good. That's actually really good. But that does not necessarily fall into tools, right? That falls more into knowing your cost. And you know, kind of doing the financial report stuff, right? That's not necessarily tools. You can hand jam that, right? You should be able to hand jam that. If it's not assuming you're not working with too much stuff. NetEview says you don't get problems with getting caught by players. I don't know for what. Oh, the Vendetta. Oh, get out of here. Get out of here with that noise. Pool says tools like Eve Mogul Everness will clarify the cost for you. You know, when I used Eve Mogul, I'll be honest, man. Like I love the profit tracking. For me, the purpose was to display profit for my investors. I never used it for myself outside of that because I kind of knew where I was ballpark making already, I didn't trade that much items. I trade a lot of volume per item potentially, but I'm not a big single item trader. At least not in the beginning. That's one thing. Yeah, you know what? I did address tools with him too, and I kind of stood my ground on know it yourself first. If you know it yourself first, then the tools can vary. If what if the tool breaks? Oh my god, I can't make money. I can't play markets anymore because the tool breaks, and I can't do it on my own. That's kind of a shitty place to be. Who says new guys need to be shown white and black whether they're making money or not? Yep. Otherwise they get lost in the math. Yep. Or you get lost long enough and the wallet's gone. They're crap at tracking the stuff, yeah. But they can do that manually. They don't necessarily need tools for that, alright? At least I didn't think so. I don't know. I will concede that the more you scale up, especially if you're doing one ISK wars, you're definitely gonna need tools. But it's one thing to use tools as tools, and it's another thing to use tools and be absolutely dependent on them. That's what I was trying to dissuade people from. Like, don't be so dependent on tools because you don't know how to actually do the market play, right? So we'll see. Hopefully he does some big moves that I can actually let you guys know, or maybe he can come on the show. You know, like, hey, this is where I was and this is where I'm at now. That'd be kind of cool. Oh, that's so true, Akulo. Gets even worse if they trade on different alts. Oh my god, you're so right. Buy with one and sell with another. Oof. How do you keep track of what cost one, what profit is? My one answer to that though, Akulo, for all these tool discussions we're having right now is that was one of my main motivators to shift from playing the market to influencing people. I don't have to track nearly as much if all I'm doing is giving X amount of money to someone, and then dividends come my way. So I kind of like I basically I graduated into how I play now because I was violently lazy in trading. It's like I don't want to do the trading. I like the money. But can I just not trade though? And I don't like PVEing either, but I still like the money. What do? I talk to people, and people made money for me. Vendetta says, have you traded any of the Abyssal Space stuff? I have not. At the time that I was actually interested in them, they just wasn't enough history yet. There wasn't enough history to make an intelligent call. They were speculative at best. Maybe it's different now. Maybe that's something we can look into in the future. But when I was looking at it, not so much. Because the mutation chances is so hard to really estimate a fair price for them. Yeah, man, it's so speculative. But there's no standards, right? At least I can't think of a particular standard for it. Unless the standard comes from just the eventual stacking of the history, which you just have to let it play out for a while. Yeah, cool. That's why I said no. I said no to traditional trading, and I'd prefer to just work with people directly. It's so much easier, man. It's so much easier. I mean, does that make me really not a trader anymore, right? That doesn't really make me a trader anymore, right? If I'm dealing with people as opposed to the trade, right? I don't think it matters, to be honest with you, but another benefit of trading tools is that they have a community built around them. That's so true. That's so true. It's kind of like Eve is a lot like that, right? You got the tools, the tool makers, the people who use them, and it creates a little community. I love it. NetIP says, do you get any massive benefits of being an Omega account for trading? Yes. 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 For one, you can actually train all your trade skills appropriately. As an alpha, you cannot. That's some of those skills you just need, man. For traditional mechanical trading, you just need them. You just legit need them. You may not need them in the beginning, but you'll eventually need them. You'll find yourself in a point where if you actually want to do something well with markets, you're gonna have to actually be an alpha. You're gonna have to actually be an alpha. For scalability, you have to be an alpha. But if you just want to derp around with it, yeah, there's nothing wrong with doing it as a I'm sorry, you have to be an omega. You can't just be an alpha with it. But if you just want to derp around with it, yeah, you can totally just be an alpha. Sorry, I mixed that one up. But if you just want to derp around, yeah, totally fine to be an alpha. But if you want to if you want to make an honest run at it, you have to be an omega. You have to. There's no way around it. You cannot scale appropriately otherwise. All right, and with that being said, thank you very much for the conversations about how to get started doing market play and null stuff. I think we covered the bare basics, super bare basics. Okay, but it's something worth looking into again in the future, and it's probably yeah, it's not. I don't think it wouldn't be it would not be a bad idea to actually go over topics like this every now and again. Oh, thank you for following. Not Epio. Thank you. Right now we're gonna go over our actual calls for the week. First one we're gonna do, guys, buys on Dysprosium. I'm not quite sure what to make of this because it's a very classical buy signal. Magic SC says Nightmares seem to be going out of style. They may be going out of style, but Jita says you should probably make a play on buys on them. Even if they are going out of style. There's a disconnect between what's actually being used in the field versus Jita specifically. Because mind you, Jita, as much as we like to think that Jita is the universal market, it's actually not, because it only allows you to view the region. There's no universal picture. You'd have to tool that out. You'd have to make a tool for that, because Jita is just the forge. Whatever gets exchanged in the forge, right? So some people would argue that Jita is as close to the universal as we can have, but as close to the universal picture is not the same as the universal picture. Okay, that's just my view on that. So Dysprosium is displaying very classical buy signals. Blue line under the orange line and the dots below the blue line. Let's just keep it super simple, right? Well, what I find really interesting is this in this 90-day picture, it's becoming cyclical for the last, I don't know, like 45 days. So hey, Reslav, what's up, bud? Oh, damn, feels like fuck. I was there so hard to go through the ground. I opened this card. That's 5 buys. Shit, sorry, bro. Creed, what's up, buddy? So, if you are in a if you in your organization, nullsec, have Dyspro, what do you guys do with it? Because Jita picture is telling me that there's people are buying and selling it in Jita as is, like as the raw. It's getting cyclical. For the most part, as we've seen historically, a lot of these raw moon materials are not cyclical. They're actually they play off of 3 to 6 month price actions. So to go through 2 price actions in a 9-day period, that's pretty amazing, man. That's pretty amazing to me. I mean, it's a cash out. It has to be. There's elements of this that's a cash out, but to cash out Dyspro as opposed to just using it straight up through your local production. I don't know, man. That's quite a statement. So if anyone can shed some light on that, like, let me know. I'm super curious because that's the cyclic nature of Dysprosium in Jita is actually quite unique compared to the other raw moon materials. So maybe there's something in there. I'm not sure what kind of hypothesis we can form with that. I can't really form anything outside of people are cashing out on Dyspro because they can, and they need to cash like right now because they need more Gilas. I don't know. Buy on Dyspro. So if you bought it right now, it's sitting at 90K. I think it's quite reasonable to get it at 1 million. I think it's quite reasonable based on these graphs. Okay. Now that we've mentioned that Dyspro is getting cyclical, for all we know, someone's gonna play around with it. Who knows, man? Who knows? But right now, I would buy Dyspro. Right now. Okay? I would buy Dyspro for the purpose of not producing with it, but for actually flipping it. I would buy it for the purpose of flipping it. Okay. Alright, next item, guys. Nightmare. I love nightmare calls, man. I love it. That's a buy. I'm not sure what this is all about. Not sure what that is. Not sure what that is. Don't care. But this is a hard floor. 500 mil hard floor nightmare. Okay. Let's see where it's at right now. Oh man. This is what I would do. This is what I would. This is my play. This is the rodent play. The volume. Ah, it's dropping. Okay, no, you can't do that. You can't. I wouldn't have the balls to do that. Nope. Nope. If it had a little bit more volume, actually, no. You know what? Yeah, fuck it. Why not? Why not? Place your buy order. That's deep though. I don't know, guys. Maybe not. Maybe not. Place your buy order at 500 mil. You may have to babysit this. Actually, no, you're not gonna. Actually, no. It's actually quite the opposite. You're not gonna babysit it. You're gonna leave it at 500. Place your buy order at 500 mil. Place your order above this guy. Place your order above this guy. Above this guy. 500,0311955.77. That's the buy order. If you fail, if the buy order doesn't get met, then it just doesn't get met. So no loss, no real big loss. Okay. But play the 500 mil range. Play the 500 mil range. Because as per the dungeon, it does get there. It gets there. All right. If you're able to capture nightmares of 500, it take like 3 days or anything. But then you can flip around to like 570. However, with the 20-day moving average actually trending downwards, I think we're going to find ourselves in a position where the trade channel is going to start to narrow, with the bottom staying at 500. From a buyer's perspective, that's actually not such a bad place to be, assuming you can get your nightmares as close to 500 million as you can. It just becomes a longer play to actually offload it. Okay, so that will be my play. Place assuming you have the cash. All right, 500 mil buy order on nightmares. Just beat the highest 500 some odd mil buy order by one ISK, and just check it once a day or something, and just be ahead. Just be ahead on that range. Eventually, the orders I think are gonna start going down. Also, Korean says, I was just talking about station trading an hour ago. Now you're here. It's destiny, baby. It's destiny. That's the play. That's the play that I would make. That's the play that I have made in the past. I think you have a better chance of it succeeding this time around because the 20-day moving average is actually trending downwards, and it's probably going to cause, like I said, a thinner trade window or trade range. Okay. Last one, Stratios for buys. The Stratios I find kind of funky these days, man. A little funky. Redslaw says, how do JITA markets trends translate to other markets? It's separate from them, man. Because the JITA window is, the JITA picture is literally just, it's literally just the forge. In order for it to be a universal picture like that, for it to make some sort of correlation with 1DQ rents, etc., there has to be some sort of a known exchange between the two, which does happen. It's just that you can't pick that out of the chart. Not that I know of. I don't know if you can pick that out of ESI, but at least from how we present the information right now, I wouldn't be able to tell you if that stuff's happening. I think it's a fair assumption that it is happening. We just don't know where, and where, when, what, how much, right? I think it's a fair assumption that there is correlation, though. It's just, how do you flesh out that correlation? Stratios has a buy. I'm kind of surprised this is continuing to trend downwards. I mean, I do see them. The volume is the same. So no one's picking up sells. It's a buyer's market basically for Stratios, but where's the bottom here? Pool says there isn't really a one-to-one relationship. Yeah, man, there really isn't. There really isn't. I wish there was. It's times like these I wish Lockbox was still around, man. It's times like these, man. I wish he was still around, because I'm not sure if he'd be able to see something with that. I don't know. But maybe not necessarily him, but people like him. I would probably have a better chance at visualizing that question, which is actually, that's a really good question, Reslov. I just don't have an answer. I don't have an answer that I can actually show evidence of, unfortunately. Alright, Stratios has a buy. The one thing I'm kind of afraid with calling Stratios as a buy right now is probably going to get lower. It's as you can see, the blue line trending down, orange line trending down, orange dots trending down, Donchin trending down. If you were to place a buy order right now, let's see where it's at. 170. Oh my god, that's so cheap. 170. It's gonna get lower. I would conservatively place a Stratios buy order of 160. 160 is not that far. 160. It is kind of far. 60 even? Yeah, it's actually kind of far. What's the most high quantity? A 15 unit buy order for 170. Okay, let's play 170. If you can stay ahead out of this 15 unit guy, one dick move. Love it. Actually, 170 is fair. Actually, yeah, 170 is fair. 170 is fair. Yeah, 170 is fair. But then, how far up would it go? You'll probably hit 185 on the way back up, right? Blaze says you see ripples of reaction from Cheetah at other markets. Cheetah drives it due to volume. Stratios does have some resistance in 90-day view. Yeah, for real, man, but I don't think that resistance is actually... It keeps breaking resistance. Or, yeah, support, sorry. Yeah, it keeps breaking the floor, man, so... if you can get ahead of this 15 unit buy order, that might be something. It's actually kind of cool going into specifics like this with you guys. It's actually really cool, because we're actually starting to get into the tactics of markets, not just the big strategies, but tactics. Magic ST says I got 17 billion liquid and a G to market trader. I haven't renewed. Oh my god. I might just do it and go in markets. With you can do a lot of damage with 17 billion, man. A lot of damage. If you want to go lazy mode, start playing faction battleships, man. It's not very high in time maintenance. Not really, because of the low volume. Restless, they can also hurt in your market bar show and ticker. Yeah, man. Let's see what's next. Oh, yep. So that was our last buy of the week call. Get ahead of this guy. This 15 unit 170. Because he's probably gonna establish a floor at 170. This guy. How is Strid doing, bro? Strid's still at 7? I don't know. Let's take a look. I'm curious. That's at 6 now. That's okay. Oh, once we called it at 7, man. Once we called it at 7.5, it started reversing. Which it really should have. It really should have. It should have reversed a long time ago. But I kept pushing. Oh, yes, that's an update item, Redsloth. the things you have in your quick bar will show in the ticker. But if you have multiple folders, I'm not sure how that's gonna work. Or is it just gonna randomly go through all your folders? I don't know. That's not? Oh damn. That'd be cool though. That'd be super cool. No. Your own personal. Oh, but it's volume. Okay. Yeah. That's still better. Like any version of that would be good because it's personalized, right? All right, guys. That's it for our buys. We're gonna go over our sells. First one we're gonna go over is the Genulution calls, guys. Genulution core call. We literally haven't done this in months. Super excited because this was a big money maker for me. Huge money maker. I literally traded implants and Macarials for the longest time. I'm super excited that there's action in this again. Dudes, if you have CA1s and you don't intend to use it, sell it, man. It's above 90-day high. It's hitting 90-day high, man. Actually, it says historic. Let's call this 240. Let's call this 240. No, okay, not quite. Almost historic. Almost historic. Close. Real close. All right, so that's the CA1 picture. So what does this thing do? There's been a lot of demand, right? What does this do? .5% capacitor modifier, 1.5% power output bonus, Genulution set bonus to 1.5, and +3 perception. Okay, cool. Good all around. Alright, next item, guys. High grade crystal alpha. It's a big jump. It's a sustained jump too. Look at that. Look at the Dutch line. It's not one of the. It's actually not an outlier. It actually played that whole range, and it played that whole range right here because of hardly anything. Actually, you know what? It's actually it's from just a few hours ago. This is already different. There's been a lot of action just in the last few hours. Actually, I don't recall even seeing this many lines. That's interesting. 132 to 189, dude. That's massive flip, man. It's 43% gains if you can actually make that happen. 43% gains if we can go buy of 132, sell of 189. Something tells me that buy price is gonna get chased up though, so you're gonna have to babysit buys. You have to babysit the buys, which is ridiculous. But the volume is unchanged the whole time. It was a straight sell action. All right, good to go. And our last item, guys, is the GIST 8 Type 5 MN microarray. Blaze a shield slave implant prediction, likely. Maybe. Look at the GIST 8 type, right? Yep. Yep. It's continuously going up. So the way it looks right here, guys, where you have the everything trending upward, when you have the orange line going up, blue line above that, and then the orange dot above that, it's continuing to go up. The one thing I would probably be wary about is the very erratic volume. You might get caught in the bad way if you chase this hard. So let's see if it's flippable first. 63 to 77. Okay. 22% change. 22% increase in value, potentially, if you trade it at these levels. However, I'm almost certain this buy value is going to get chased up. How high it gets chased up, not quite sure. It's... it should get chased up at least to 65 by tomorrow. Yeah, like 65 by tomorrow for sure. For sure. Just be careful if you're trying to play items that are trending upwards, because eventually, if you chase the buys hard enough, your top buy is gonna be a bottom. It's gonna be the best sell eventually, right? So don't be that guy where the buy, where the top buy becomes the lowest sell, because you basically just lost out. You gave free money away at that point, all right? You gave free money away. Okay. All right. So that's all we got, guys. Thank you very much for the discussions. Thank you very much for the discussions with how to get started in a very general way in nullsec market play. I think we hit a lot of good points there. I think we hit a lot of we probably dispelled a whole lot of people relying on some market play fiction, I think. But yeah, thank you very much. For next week, what am I interested in? Oh, thank you very much, NetEpio. Been doing this for a while, but it's you guys that actually make the stream. I kind of just facilitate. I'm just the guy who herds the cats, but it's you guys that actually provide. You guys are actually the content, not so much me. You're the content. Is there anything you guys want me to check out specifically for next week? I know I kind of just say what I want to check out, but is there anything you guys want to check out next week? If not, Blaze, for real, Balgorns with your gajillion Balgorn BPCs in your hangar, which is amazing, by the way, amazing. So, I'm just curious now. I'm curious. Wait, did I misspell that? 264 to 292. Oh, that's a hard trade channel, bro. Are you profiting at current prices on the Balgorns? 264 to 292. NetEpio says how nerfs and buffs affect prices if that isn't too basic. Ooh, that's definitely not basic. That's definitely not basic. Straight to contracts then. It's not a Jita play. It's a delivery play. That's cool, man. That's super cool. That is super cool. Buy ships and then ship. Perfect. My man. Now a lot of people do that, man. Like, dude, I made a lot of money in Immensely doing that. A lot of money. Shippers make the most money. I was a shipper. I made a lot of money. I make more money than just dips, than just doing nonsense to my VNI, man. and it's way more AFK. Being a JF guy is actually way more AFK. Outside of moving the sinos around, that's it. That's the only non-AFK part of it. Pressing buttons. Alright, well, I'm not sure we can really do how nerfs and buffs affect prices, because that's actually a very loaded question at EPO. If you want to go over something as very specific nerf and buff, maybe that's something we can look into. Okay, but if you guys have any questions or something you want to discuss next week, send me an email. That'll be the best way to do it. Alright, Eve mainly on Rodin, that's the character that I have in Startide Industries. Alright. Drone Walkers Alliance, Legacy Coalition. Alright. And Robro is the actual character that you see on screen right now. He's my trader. Alright, NPC type. Unless you guys have any suggestions, the one thing I'm probably curious about, I'm definitely gonna be doing next week, is a report on the money that we're gonna be receiving, the 50 billion ISK, and kind of give you guys an idea of how we're spending that. So it's a bit of like a shield time, right? When I do that. because I'm telling you guys kind of the very basics of our corp culture and our corp operation, kind of like as a recruitment tool, to be quite honest. All right. I don't think there's a lot of people, and I don't think there's a lot of corporations at all that have a business model like we do, which is give me money and I'll turn it into more money and give you a cut. You know. So I think it's good to display something like that, because it's in line with the open world nature of Eve, and something I really appreciate. Phil says, what went on with medium remote armor reps last week? They spiked to 4 mil and now we're back under 2 mil again. It could have been a doctrine buy. A lot of stuff like that I've noticed are legit doctrine buys. Like, oh my god, we just got into a fight and we're expecting another fight in 2 days, and staging is out of them. Somebody go fetch the things. Somebody go fetch the things. All right, it's one of those things. Seen that a lot for ships. I seen that for modules for sure. Not necessarily the meta types, but definitely the Tech 2 items, and even Tech 2 ammo. I've actually seen that. All right, that's all I got, guys. So investor type information update. That's really all I got. Outside of that, played by ear. All right. I definitely expect more updates on the investor end. Okay, and we'll see about tackling some new bro market person type of topics, but I'm probably gonna lean on not actually talking about mechanical items. Okay, I'm talking more of like strategies and tactics, not so much how do you do this. It's more of let me throw a concept at you and see if you can implement that in your market play. All right, something like that. Because the mechanics has kind of been done to death, to be quite honest. You can actually go to wikis for that. But I want to engage you guys in new bro related market topics that aren't necessarily covered in wikis, because I think that's more valuable than just reiterating the mechanics, the how to do things. Okay. All right. So I think I'll think about that and see what we can come up with. All right. And another thing too is like like you guys are the content, right? But at the same time, you guys are more than welcome to actually hop on the comms with me, and like we can do the show together, man. It's totally cool. I don't mind. I really don't mind. We're kind of a freeform thing anyway, and from a time slot perspective, there's nobody before us and there's nobody after us, so we can kind of go for a while if needed, as long as people are entertained and learning stuff. Alright, but that's all I got, guys. Thank you very much again, and looking forward to Eve mails if there are any, and we'll see you next week. Cool. Thanks, guys.